In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my experience at Epic's XGM event in Wisconsin 2025. It was my first time ever being to Epic, so I didn't really know what to expect, let alone a conference this huge. I'm going to tell you everything from their application I used to get around, to the food situation, the sessions, the tours, and I have so much footage. It really is kind of out of this world. But let's go ahead and get straight into it. A little background, I work at a hospital in a clinical informatics position, and I was offered kind of late to go to this. Someone else backed out, and I'll never say no to a free trip, especially going to Epic's campus. I heard it's truly epic, so I said yes immediately, and from there, they sent me over the stuff to get started. Prior to going to the conference, you have to choose what sessions you're going to be attending, and me coming from a clinical informatics background, I chose whatever sessions I found related to that. We're currently going to be going live with our first tool for ambient listening for our providers, so I chose a lot of AI ambient listening sessions as well, along with just some other ambulatory, as I do cover ambulatory in my current field. Now, I will say that the sessions that you choose, you are able to switch it up once you get there. So if you're in a session at the conference and they're kind of pitching another one that sounds interesting to you, you're not tied to the ones that you chose. I did do this once because they did advertise that they were going to be talking more in a different one, and I didn't schedule it. I had no problem walking into that. They're not taking attendance or anything. It's really just to kind of give you a layout throughout the day. So just keep that in mind, that it's not set in stone. And if you find something more interesting while you're there, you can always attend it. I really just want to speak about my experience at XGM. So we'll start with day one of me being in Wisconsin at the event. Now, pretty much every hotel has shuttles that lead to the event. It's kind of a huge thing. My hotel actually had a poster board with the shuttle schedule as to when it left and when it came back. And they also had a paper for me to take to my hotel room. That way I could also know the times. So they were pretty on board. Epic's got it down in this town. I'm going to call it a small town because I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and it's fairly large. So in this small town, they pretty much got it down. But that morning, I hopped on the shuttle with a ton of other people from other organizations. We filled up our bus and we were on our way. Driving in was pretty surreal because I've heard that Epic's campus is pretty big, but it's not till you're driving through it for a few miles that you realize, wow, this thing is huge. Now, I never felt lost though when I was there because as soon as I got off the bus, there were people pointing you in the direction that you needed to go. It was super organized, and when you walk through those first doors, you'll see registration where you just kind of check in. I believe they give you your name badge along with some goodies and what you can expect, but from there you're on your way. Every morning, Epic did offer breakfast, so I opted out of my hotel's breakfast and I decided to eat there just because I've heard that they have really good chefs, and I will say the food there was amazing, and they have something for everybody. They had gluten-free options, they had vegetarian options. I myself don't have any restrictions. So it's kind of buffet style. They have rows and rows and rows, and they're just pushing people through, but you can kind of get whatever you want. So I had to try everything. I normally don't eat a breakfast like that, but I was eating good on this trip. After I was done with breakfast, I was off to my first session, and I was there for a total of 3 days. 3 days, yeah. The last day I had to leave a little bit early, and I'll tell you about that and how it worked with my baggage. But I was off to my first session, and I didn't necessarily know where to go, but they have an application with your itinerary on it, and it shows you exactly where your sessions are located. So my itinerary was on my phone. I would click that session and it would show me a map, and it would just pretty much tell me where to go. Along on this was a list of all the other available sessions that were happening. That way, if I did want to switch, which I did later on one of my times, if I did want to switch, I could. They also had the menus for breakfast, lunch, throughout all the days. And it had information on the after hour that happens after the event, which we'll talk about more too. I definitely recommend that you stay for that. At the beginning, I did not think I'd be staying at this conference any longer, but it just got more cool and more cool as it went on. Now that first session is pretty exciting. Everybody is happy. We're all together before we split up into whatever sessions that we're going to. But Epic kind of tells you a little bit about the conference. They tell you about upcoming features. There was a lot of talk about AI, which personally excites me, especially in a clinical informatics type of role. And I suppose everyone there was in a similar role to me, but it was exciting to see. Now, each session lasted about 45 minutes to 50, just so it gave time for you to get to your next one. And after my first session, I attended several more. But one of the cool things that they offer at Epic while you're there is the opportunity to go and tour their campus. And it's pretty large. They have a series of different tours, whether that be exploring the Harry Potter type buildings. They had Alice in Wonderland type buildings, chocolate factory type buildings, and they're all office buildings, but the architecture on them just makes them really unique. From the outside, it makes you think like, where am I? Once you get inside, you can tell it's a bit more office-y. However, they do have art and installations throughout. So it wasn't uncommon for people to skip a session that they had originally signed up for and attend the tours. They actually encourage it. But now let's talk about lunch. Lunch is similar to the way breakfast is. The lines get long during that hour, and not everybody from the whole conference is going at the same hour. They do split it up in 2 different times, so I think that helps. But it's pretty much just help yourself to what you want. I definitely ate, like I said, way more than I intended, but I encourage you, just try everything. Why not? Why not? The attire for the event was mostly business casual, just appropriate. I wasn't wearing anything too crazy because I did not want to be sitting in a conference hall being all hot and bothered. And some people dress more casual than others, so I pretty much just wore a half zip polo type shirt with dress pants and a pair of Nikes. Just some comfortable shoes. You're walking around, and how much you walk around really depends on yourself. I tend to go on a lot of tours, and at one point I even hopped on some of the Epic bikes. So around the facility they have these bikes covered in this cow print, and they're free for anyone, free for staff, free for visitors. Just hop on a bike and take a free tour for yourself. So here you can see me riding around. The weather over there compared to Arizona was literally just so refreshing, so nice to be outside. I do not know what it would be like there in the winter, but I was told it does snow. The cool thing, though, about all the office buildings that they have, and even though they are spread out, in the scenario that you do not want to go outside, they do have underground tunnels or sky bridges, as they call it, connecting each of these buildings. So you can get everywhere that you need to go without going outside. Now, when I was there, the weather was perfect, and I'm sure they don't have guests when it is snowing, but I had to walk outside. Although many of the tours did take me through the passages, which was really easy to get lost, I would definitely say hop on a bike, enjoy it, explore on your own, because there really is a lot to see. Let's take a minute to talk about the sessions. Now, like I said, they're not taking attendance at these sessions, so when you get there, you just kind of walk in. I know there were specialty sessions that you did have to scan your thing to get into. For a standard attendee such as myself, I did not attend any of those ones, so that wasn't a problem for me. But you just walk in and you can sit there and listen, watch. You can take notes if you want, and at the end they always offer opportunities for questions. Now, what are the sessions? They're pretty much little showcases from different hospitals around the states of what they've come out with. Now, ambient AI is something that's been pretty big and one that I attended multiple on. And one hospital talked about their pilot of using ambient AI with their providers, and they talked about how it has increased their numbers. This just so happened to work out in my favor because at my facility, we are also implementing a technology like this. So I took many of notes. I didn't ask any questions just because I get kind of shy in front of people. Imagine that. I make YouTube videos, but I get shy. But I didn't ask any questions, but I did get a lot of information. And in the scenario that you do not get all the information that you need, all the sessions are recorded and posted online, I believe 1 or 2 weeks after the actual conference, and you can access their slideshows that they presented as well as a recording. So I did go back and watch a couple to take a few more notes, and most facilities, they provide you at the end of their session, they provide you with their email addresses in case you have any questions. So I even did reach out to one hospital to get a little bit more information on the pilot that they had going. One thing that really excited me was the merch, the merchandise store. I love merch. You know, I can buy merch on anything. And their merch was actually really affordable. So the little store, it all has their little logo on it. It has little references to their campus. But I bought a couple of shirts. They had this really cool backpack. I bought a couple pins. They had stuff for kids. They had a little bit of everything there if you wanted to buy more epic notebooks, water bottles. I did get a free water bottle. Everyone that attended got a free water bottle, and there are water filling stations throughout. So everyone was pretty much just refilling their water bottle throughout the stay. That's what I mean though when I say they really thought everything out, because then they weren't having to hand out water bottles. We all had this and we could personalize it. They gave us stickers. We could write our name on it. They really thought it all. I'm not going to lie though, by the end of the conference on day 3, I really was exhausted. And speaking of that, I wasn't sure how it was going to work with me checking out of my hotel room and then going straight to the airport after the conference. But I was able to take my bag on the shuttle, and at Epic, they do have a bag check. So I gave my suitcase to them. At the end, I took my suitcase back, and they do have shuttles from Epic that go to the airport. But yeah, that last day, I was pretty tired. Now, last thing I want to talk about though is the after hour. I did not think that I'd be staying at this conference any longer, pretty much because it went all day long, but they had what they called an after hour. Now, it didn't have any alcohol at it, but it did have a ton of snacks from their chefs, a ton of gourmet drinks. They had musics, they had games, you had a chance to win some goodies, which I did participate in. And the first night I attended, I was like, okay, I'm doing this every single night. So I would go and I would just eat dinner there because they have these little bite-sized hors d'oeuvres and you can go around to all the tables, but it's not a limit to how much you can get. So you could go back to it multiple times, which I did, and you can get your dinner like that. Overall, it was really just such a great experience. Any opportunity that I get to go back to Epic, I'm definitely taking it just because I feel like there's just so much to see. Now, there were sessions where you could collaborate with other people. I personally didn't attend any of those, but it is very open for collaboration. People there are excited and wanting to talk. I did find myself talking to several people sitting next to me throughout several sessions about like what they're doing. So it is a great way to network, and I just love how open it is. They have plenty of attractions and it really sparks some creativity. The place may look a little chaotic, but it really does make you excited to be there. And I feel like the employees there, at least that I've met, they've been there for many years because they get that same feeling. If you have any questions about Epic XGM, I'll try my best to answer. Just put them in the comments down below. If you haven't, give this video a like and a thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.